So I'm Sarah, I'm the interim safeguarding lead here for Hull Vineyard, having recently taken over from Janice, and I'm really grateful that she stayed on the team as deputy, and you'll meet her and James, who's also the deputy, shortly when I ask them to come up on stage so that you know who we all are. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes this morning covering 3 areas, thinking about what is safeguarding, why is it important, what are we doing here at Hull Vineyard to ensure that the church is a safe place, and then thirdly, what do you need to do and how do you reach the team if you need to? So as John said earlier, ultimately we answer to God, don't we? God is sovereign and we need to be accountable to him. But safeguarding essentially is a legal requirement, isn't it? It's based on both the Children's Act and also the Adult Care Acts, both parliamentary acts. And they're there in place to really protect those in the population who could be considered to be at risk. So that might be those who are children, or that might be those who are adults potentially at risk of, risk of harm. So what is the law really aiming to protect those people against? Well, really from different forms of abuse. And I'm not going to go into each of those different types of abuse in any detail, but defining abuse, whether it is against a child or whether it's against a vulnerable adult, it's really very complex, and it can be difficult to do that. So that's why we need to be taking this seriously, as John said earlier. So abuse could be someone inflicting harm, or it could be someone failing to prevent harm. So it could be either inflicting or failing to prevent harm. And abuse can occur in all settings, so it can occur within a family, it can occur within an institution, and it can occur in a community setting. So we need to sort of be conscious of the different places that abuse can occur. And abuse against a child or an adult could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be sexual, it could be spiritual, or it could be neglect. And thankfully, it is relatively uncommon. But it's just to say, really, that it can be complicated. It's not always easy to spot. It's not always easy to know what to do when it is spotted. So that's why, again, we want to take it really seriously, because the consequences of abuse can be devastating and can be long-lasting. So within church here, we want to take it seriously so that we can really reassure you, as John said, that those of us who call this home, we know that home is a safe place to be. And we'll do this really both by looking out for each other and also taking action where needed if we think that a child or a vulnerable adult is at risk of harm. But also we want to ensure that we're protecting ourselves as a church. We're protecting ourselves as best we can from allegations of abuse by complying with the legal requirements. So that we're aiming to be above the law and above the law in all that we do, so that anything that we do that's within our control, we're following good practice. So that's the first bit. What is safeguarding? Why is it important? So what are we doing here at Hull Vineyard to really ensure that the church is a safe place? Well, for us as a church and as a safeguarding team, it's much more than just ticking boxes to show that we comply with the requirements. As I said, we really want to be living out Jesus' commandment to love one another as he's first loved us. So essentially, we really want you to understand that safeguarding for us means creating that safe church, that safe home that I've just mentioned. And I know that's something that John and Joni are working on at the moment and will be speaking on in the not too distant future, is about what healthy church culture looks like and also what unhealthy church culture looks like. So they'll then be talking about spiritual abuse, coercive leadership. And they want to, through talking about those difficult topics, give you that reassurance that they and we as a church are continuing to build safety into this place and disseminating the clear pathways that need to be followed for raising concerns wherever needed. And in addition, to provide real reassurance that people who need protection or who are unable to prevent harm from happening to themselves will be heard and that actions will be taken wherever indicated. So we're not social care services, but we do liaise with them where someone describes either something that's happened to them or if someone close to them needs protection. So one area that I'm focusing on right now as safeguarding lead with the support of the staff team is to coordinate updated training for everyone who needs to undertake this, so whether that's for adults or children, to make sure that we're really up to date. So this training plan could involve some of you. So if you are asked to attend some online training safeguarding sessions, we'd really love you to prioritise this and work with us so that we're ensuring that we all have the necessary knowledge and the necessary information. Some of you who are volunteers have gone through DBS checks, and we're really grateful for you having done that, and also for those who administer the DBS process. But not everyone who serves in church needs to go through a DBS check. It really depends on the role that you're doing and what that role involves. But many of you will be asked to do some safeguarding within church as well. So there's the online external training sessions, but I'll also be running some group sessions within church as well for some of us who volunteer in the different compassion ministries and serving aspects. And the reason for doing this training is really to fully equip us as the church with that up-to-date information and the up-to-date policies, up-to-date procedures, so that we are really working together. And that all of you, whether you're on staff, whether you're serving in a particular area or not yet, we all need to take responsibility for safeguarding as a way of loving each other really, really well. And that's especially as we continue to grow, and also especially as the Hope Centre project builds and comes to life. We're likely to be, and we hope to reach many more people within the city of Hull, and many of those may be vulnerable adults who have particular care needs, but also may be at risk of harm. So what else do you need to know? Well, let me now introduce the team. So could I ask Janice and James to come up to the stage? So while they're just making their way here, they don't have to speak, but thank you very much. So James and Janice, I just also want to mention and thank the other people involved with the safeguarding aspects. For example, with DBS checks, with safer recruitment, administration, organising the training that needs to be done. Your help is really, really appreciated. So the reason for Janice and James coming up is so that you know who they are, you recognise our faces, because the third and final bit is what do you need to do and how do you reach us as the team? So if you have a safeguarding concern about someone, for example, if in one of the ministry areas that you're serving in, or if someone discloses possible abuse to you, we would want you to come and talk with one of us. So please don't promise that person or that child that you'd have to keep things to yourself. You do need to come and talk to another person. But of course, once you've done that, we will keep it in a strictly need-to-know basis. So files are kept securely, and it would usually only be one of the three of us who would then decide if the concerns need to be acted on or require further liaison with social care services. So ideally speak to myself, but if I'm not available, Janice or James, and if you're not able to speak to one of us in person, or if you have a concern or about a child and you're not able to do that face-to-face, please email us on the confidential email address that's coming up on the screen behind me, so that's safeguarding@hullvineyard.co.uk. So if you have any of our personal details, please don't text or email us on our personal email addresses or text. We don't want confidential information on those. Please do use that safeguarding inbox, because it's only the three of us that look at that, and we have really secure sort of ways of then managing the information that comes through. And if you do that, we will get back to you as soon as possible. If we don't, as quickly as we'd like to, because we all work, then please do contact the church office, and they will then make contact with us as well. So thank you, Janice, thank you, James, and thank you all very much for your attention. But do please pray for this area of safeguarding, for God's protection on us as a church, and for the ability and the wisdom to really carry out the requirements that we need to do in a loving way. Thank you.